There were two huge returns on AEW Dynamite. Tony Khan made an announcement about an announcement, and a huge heel turn also happened on the show. All this and more on the main event. Hello everybody, welcome to the main event. We are back with some news, and this whole news video has a lot to do with last night's AEW Dynamite because it was such a bloody good show. We start today's news with two huge returns coming back to the company. Early in the show, we got a backstage promo where Renee found Miro backstage going into Tony Khan's office. It looked like they were going to talk about something. So later in the show, we went back to Renee, who was stood waiting outside of TK's office, waiting to talk to Miro. And who showed up? Well, it was Thunder Rosa. And when asked about what she's doing there, it's a good night to talk to Tony Khan. Now, it does seem that way because a lot went down on this show, and Tony Khan might be Booker of the Year. It was an incredible night, but it's even better because Miro's back and we haven't seen him in 8 months. It's crazy. I believe the last time we actually saw him was when he tagged with Darby and Sting at All Out, I'd like to say. But it was great seeing Thunder Rosa back. Obviously, the last time we saw her, she said that she wouldn't be able to defend the title. And then we got the interim championship, which Tony Storm won, then Jamie Hayter won. Obviously, the lineage then got made to be the official title. If you've happened to watch AEW All Access, you've seen Thunder Rosa and the path she's been taking to come back to the company and how there was many delays in the way. But I'm hella excited to see these two. Miro is an absolute 1 in a million talent, and to be honest, he's been done dirty by the company. This felt like a storyline as well because later in the show, Excalibur sent us to Tony Khan, who was apparently in his office, which was blatantly him just stood in front of a green screen. And Tony Khan made an announcement, and for once, reading from the teleprompter very well. Tony then went and said there is a lot of hungry talent backstage, all wanting an opportunity. So we have to all tune into next week's Dynamite on TNT, even though I thought it was on TBS, where he's going to be making a huge announcement. I think we all know what this huge announcement is. It's obviously the AEW Collision, but with this you can tell they're going to make a huge deal about the new show. They're definitely going to start wanting to interweave some storylines to start up on that show. So obviously with Thunder Rosa coming back in Miro, it definitely feels like could be people fighting for places on the show. There's loads they can really do. We also had a big name teased on the show. It was obviously the guy who can't escape the news. It was obviously Phil Brooks, good old CM Punk. Now, you might wonder where in the show he was teased, but it was actually with one thing that was said, and it was during MJF's video package on the show. He simply said two things: CM Punk. That name has not been said on AEW TV since All Out. That's a crazy thought with how long ago it was. And now his name's coming back into the picture. We know that he's coming soon. It's going to be very interesting to see what's coming over these next couple of weeks, especially, like I say, with them storylining this whole new show. It'll be cool also to see who CM Punk's first rivalry is, because apparently it's not going to be Chris Jericho, even though that was the heavy rumor for weeks. And apparently, even though it isn't going to be Jericho, they still had the meeting, and apparently it went very, very well. Also, Punk still hasn't spoke to the Elite, so I don't expect that to be the first rivalry back. They're pretty in with it with the BCC. And if you didn't know they were fully in with it with the BCC, you didn't watch this show, did you? Because that main event proved it. The main event of the night was Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega, and they had an absolute barn burner inside of a steel cage. And other members of the Elite and the BCC had a barn burner outside of the ring. It was just war. But that leads us into the next story, which was a massive heel turn happening on the show. No, it wasn't one of the Elite turning. It wasn't Takeshita, which everybody thought would happen. It was actually a really heartbreaking moment. During the match, Kenny Omega went for a V-trigger on Jon Moxley, and they both went flying through the side of the cage. The whole thing fell down. It genuinely looked like a shoe. But we said the same thing about Montez Ford in the Elimination Chamber, whereas that was just a way to get Logan Paul into the chamber. But they continued the fight more, and then Kenny Omega got Jon Moxley onto his shoulders and hit the One-Winged Angel. 1, 2, Don Callis hits Kenny Omega in the back with the screwdriver. The big heel turn was Don Callis, the guy who says Kenny Omega is essentially his son, or brother, whichever way you want to look at it. After the moment, you could hear Bryan Danielson on commentary laughing his head off, and it was a lovely sight to see. The heel turn wasn't though, that was really sad. Like I said, I got quite emotional. And then after Jon Moxley pinned Kenny Omega 1, 2, 3, it looked like Callis was about to hit Kenny again with the screwdriver. Instead, he had his little thought, dropped the screwdriver, pulled Kenny in saying, "You did this, you did this," and then started taunting the crowd, and the show ended. I feel like we knew this was coming with Don Callis because it seemed like he was pushing away Kenny and obviously going with Takeshita, but I was part of the crew that also thought Takeshita was going to be the one to come in this match and turn. We were all wrong. But it'd be interesting to see in the coming weeks what's going to happen here, because this story is just getting more and more twists and turns and lots of layers. It's beautiful. Jon Moxley said this rivalry was the apex of wrestling. He is so right. And that is all the news I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like the video and leave a comment what you think down below about the whole of Dynamite. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Obviously, we're trying to push for 1,000 subscribers. And also remember, we have a new Twitter for the main event. If you go into the description, you can get in there, hit the follow, and we can all hang out there as well. Thank you very much. I've been Toby King. I'll see you in the main event.